and today I'm going to be teaching you the round layer haircut. This specific haircut is my favorite because it gives you a lot of movement and it's really easy to style. So I hope you enjoyed the class and let's have some fun cutting hair. See you soon. Bye.
Lay your hair down. Look at this. It's huge. Oh my gosh. Alright, so they said to put it down the middle, which I'm going to do the best I can. As you can see, I have like a lion's mane, okay? And this girl, they got the YouTube video, she had like this fine hair. I'm like, honey, wait till you have Italian hair, okay? There's like a ton of it. So one thing she mentioned, you're gonna basically give yourself pigtails. I will say it's really clever. I don't know if she's a hairstylist or whatnot, but it's really clever because I've always just kind of free-handed. Aww, look at that. I'm gonna go to the other side. No, that's pretty cute. Maybe I'm just really tired and I don't want to choose anymore. But I did pull these to tighten them up to get them semi-even. And I promise y'all I look prettier in person. This lighting in this bathroom, it's just no bueno. Okay, so you have those two. And then she had like little rubber bands, like the little tiny ones that you can use for braces. I don't have any of that, but I do have my sisters, my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter. I do have her little cute hair scrunchies. So I'm going to use those. So I don't want anything too short. You can see my hair's not terribly long. I don't want like a crop, like a little bob. But my hair grows so fast, and I got a haircut, let's see, it's October. I got a haircut in May, late May, so 5 months ago, and it's already grown like 6 inches. And that haircut was like $150, so I'm like, yeah, trim for herself. Okay, so unfortunately these little these little hair ties of my daughter don't really get that tight as rubber bands. That could be a downfall. But these are just to gauge the length, okay? So you're trying to get them as even as possible. Alright. If it looks uneven, I can't hear you guys anyways. There's no line commenting, so God be with me. I just have some of my husband's little shears. My husband's hair is more fabulous than mine. I don't know how to post a picture, but maybe I'll get like a hidden video of him one time with his luscious hair. So now you're literally just going to cut right above it. Done. I'm going to turn it back down. Why do I choose to do stuff like this? Why? There's literally no turning back. How did I get that? It's kind of even. It was so far, y'all. I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm committed now. Well, part of this. Alright, other side. My husband was here. He'd be so upset. I don't want to do stuff like this when he's not here. He's working. At least I don't have 2 little toddlers looking at me like laughing their heads off. I think this definitely, cutting your own hair at home, full disclosure, works better. If I'm to, I was going to say it's a little more even. That's not even. Look how thick that is, y'all. That's how thick my hair is. This could be like a brush for makeup. That's how thick it is. Oh my God. Okay. So this is it. It's a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. Oh my God. So far, don't do it if your hair is really long, and I miss you already. It was a lot prettier than I thought it was. And don't do this if you're going to do it. Don't take off 8 inches. What was I thinking? It just did not look that short. Okay, let's work with this. Can I still get a ponytail? Oh my God, thank God. Because at least I can like cover it up if it's a ponytail. So they said to start, because obviously this is not a clean cut. I mean, you saw how even that crowd was. I'm so glad I tried this stuff out. I'm going to be also posting a video about self-tanner. Oh my god, but I've had some very bad self-tanner experiences. And basically, he just said you just have to go through it part by part and try and get even. So, after this, I'm going to text my husband. See what day works. I'm going to give me a haircut. So I'm going to just do this the best I can all throughout my hair. Y'all need to see this part. Let's fast forward. So having your hair look all wacky, dude, that's in style nowadays. Like growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s in high school, and your hair having to look pristine and even, that's not style anymore, right? Like you can be crazy. I don't know if this does, but I've seen hairstylists and people online do it. That does, y'all can see. I don't know what that does. How many misses? Oh my Lord Jesus. It's a good thing I'm a confident woman. If I was 16, I'd be in tears. And also I'd be hiding from my mother because she thought that I did this. I wouldn't have lived past 16. I'm going to take a straightener in my hair, trying to tone down this fabulous octopus. I don't even know how to get to the back. I don't even know where to go from here. So it needs to be layered up right here. Can't believe I made that short. It's gonna kind of roll a bit. I hate to see what it looks like in the back. Oh god, my hair's got a gross. See how even that is? Oh Lord Jesus, look at that. Looks like Mommy's gonna keep wearing her hair in a ponytail until she gets into the hair salon. Do they even call it salon?
Let's talk about the video you just watched. What was your reaction? Did you laugh? Did you smile? I can tell you that I did laugh a lot because I think it was pretty funny. What do you think about the whole video? I bet some of you thought it was scary to do something like that. Or maybe some of you thought it was not because you tried it before at home. If you tried it before and it didn't come out the way you were expecting, I'm sure you had some of the reactions the lady had. You can see the lady being nervous and doubting herself, but she continues to do it. She makes herself two ponytails because she's trying to follow the instructions on YouTube, thinking that's all she has to worry about. A lot of people think that it's so easy to cut hair, especially your own. But then they find out that it's not so easy and they regret it. They ended up realizing that's why stylists go to a school to learn how to cut hair from professional instructors. You can also see in the video when the lady says, I think I'm going to have to schedule an appointment with my stylist, realizing she has to leave it up to the professionals. What other factors did you see didn't help her to be able to perform a successful haircut? One of the factors that I can talk to you about is that she's using fabric scissors, she has dry hair, and she does not have her head up straight. When you do a haircut on dry hair, you're not going to be able to have a better control of the hair, or you're not going to be able to have and maintain an even tension through the whole haircut. As soon as you cut the first section, you're going to see that the hair will be shorter than planned because it's going to jump back up. Another funny part of the video that I see is that after she sees how short it is, she keeps cutting it to even it out because that's what she saw on the YouTube video. So let's not try to do that, please, at home. Let's go ahead and get professionally trained to be able to perform a very good haircut in other people. And if you're able to do it yourself, that's great. I haven't been able to perform that yet or master that yet, but I've heard of some people, they get very good at doing haircuts on themselves. But let's not try to do that right now. Well, I hope you liked the video, and let's keep learning more about haircuts. Our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about haircuts, and then specifically about round layer haircut, the key points, factors that affect the haircut, elevation, over direction, section angle accuracy, hair products, pre-dry, and finishing style. You're going to need to have an understanding of the techniques and tools for hair cutting, because studying and practicing your skills will allow you to understand advanced hair cutting techniques. And then if you specialize in hair cutting, that's going to help you to increase opportunities and profit as a hairstylist. Being able to rely on your hair cutting techniques and skills is what's going to build confidence, trust, and loyalty between the stylist and the guest. Now let's continue talking about what do we know. What do we know about haircuts? Most of the time, the response that I get is that we know that we need to get a haircut once in a while so we can try to avoid getting those ugly split ends, right? So what else do we know? We know that we're not supposed to cut our hair at home ourselves. We need to schedule an appointment and go to a professional, right? We learned that from the previous video, right? What do we know also? Well, we know that haircuts are pretty. We like them because it gives a different look, different style, and sometimes we're ready for a change. So that's what we know, right? Now let's go ahead and talk about what do we need to know. Well, what we need to know is that if we decide to go get a haircut, we're not just gonna go and sit down on the chair and the stylist is gonna go ahead and start cutting the hair, right? We're gonna need some communication with the stylist. There's a lot of information that she's gonna have to know in order to recommend a haircut or a style. So what she wants to know and she would like to know is how long you want your hair. I mean, you want to maintain your length or you're ready for short hair. Also, she's going to want to know what type of style do you want, which products she's going to be able to use. So for that, she's going to ask you if you like volume or you don't like volume. So we need to ask all those questions and during the consultation so we can have a very effective communication. Also, she's going to want to know that maybe, like I said, you're ready for a change and maybe you've been wearing your hair for so long on one length and it's not fun anymore. Maybe you're getting bored of it and you're ready for a change. So I'm sure she's going to recommend layers because you're going to have more movement in your hair and you're going to be able to style it like very, very different ways. So now talking about all this is going to bring us to talk about the last question. Why is terminology important? Well, we go to cosmetology school and we get training and hands-on experience that is going to allow us to practice our skills and improve every single time, right? Well, learning the cosmetology terminology, you're going to be able to develop a professional vocabulary that only stylists will understand. But at the same time, that will train you to be able to educate your guests in a very professional manner. Now we're going to talk more about round layers. What you're going to be using on the round layer haircut is a 90-degree elevation or higher. This haircut is suitable for guests with thick or coarse hair. So if you ever get a guest that has very thick hair or is really coarse and you're doubting which haircut is going to be best for this specific guest, now you know the layers is going to be one of them. Again, because it's going to be removing the weight and it's going to create a lot of movement and a lot of volume. But it's not going to be looking like with extremely volume where it's not going to look good. It's just that it's going to be removing the weight, but at the same time, it's going to create that volume all around. Now let's talk about the key points. We're going to be cutting in a convex manner around the head shape. And in cutting in a convex manner, what it means is that we're going to create those outward movement in the hairstyle. And it can be cut to have clear, hard lines or very subtle, soft lines. But it will always result in an outward movement of the hair. Reducing bulk, again, especially if your guest has very thick or coarse hair, whenever we create those layers, we're going to be reducing a lot of bulk. So that's why we're going to be able to see a lot of movement, because that movement is going to be producing that interior texture. Now let's go ahead and go over the factors that affect the haircut. The geometric shape we're going to be working with is a round. The technique is going to be layers. Elevation, 90 degrees. Over direction is going to be forward. Tension is going to be maximum. Of course, depending on the hair texture information. Section angle is going to be vertical. Hand position is going to be overhand. Upper body is going to be vertical. And your lower body is going to be round. So that means you're going to be standing forward of each section. To give an example to understand how we create layers a little bit better, I can think of a book, for example. If you grab a book, you're going to see that when the book is closed, the pages are laying on top of each other evenly. If you compare that to a haircut, it could be the square one length. But let's say you open that book right from the middle. You're going to see that on each side, now the pages are not even. They're laying slightly next to each other. And that's because we created a little bit of elevation. But now let's say you open that book right from the beginning. You're going to see that all those pages on the right side, when you open that book from the beginning, they're going to be laying next to each other more far away apart. And the reason is because if you're doing a haircut, you created a higher elevation. So whenever you get a chance, go ahead and grab a book and play with it a little bit, opening that book from the middle, from the beginning, or towards to the end. And you're going to be seeing to which side you're creating layers. And depending on how far from the book you're going to open it, that's going to be creating more layers, like creating more pages away apart. So let's go ahead and practice that whenever you get a chance. And hopefully you can comprehend a little bit better how layers work. Now let's talk a little bit more in depth about elevation. Cutting line control the steepness or shallowness of the vertical dimension. The end result of the different elevation choices are called techniques. Techniques, result of the elevation and cutting line. To change the distribution of the ends through a cut, elevation is used. Elevation creates the different distribution of weight and refers to the degree of lift placed on a section of the hair. Elevation falls into 3 categories: none, a little, or a lot. When hair is elevated to cut, some hair must travel further to the guide when the guide is removed. The hair falls to different distances in its natural position. The end results of the different elevation choices are called the techniques: one length, graduation, and layers. In this case, we're going to be using layers. Over direction, the horizontal movement of the hair toward or away from the face. Is the degree of movement forward or backward from natural fall. You can see in the picture how the red arrow points to which way we over directing that hair from the natural fall. And you see how the farther we're gonna create that over direction to one side, the higher elevation and the more layers we're gonna be creating. Section angle accuracy. A system of sectioning to create consistent and accurate end results. Section angle accuracy refers to the choice of the section angle that will best complement the distribution of weight in the haircut. Vertical removes weight. So remember, the section angle we're going to be using is vertical, but if we combine it with a higher elevation, that's how many layers you're going to be able to see. Higher elevation, more layers. Lower elevation, less layers. This information can assist you in making the right choice for the desired end result. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to start with the 4 standard segments. So to create that, we're going to go ahead and part from the front hairline to the lower nape, and then from the apex to my start process. So let's go ahead and start doing that. By the way, by now we already established the length, so just make sure that you have already established the length on your mannequin. Now from apex to my start process, so I can continue working on my segments. So it's gonna be 4 standard segments with the center part. I hope you guys gonna enjoy this haircut because this is one of my favorites, because you can style it so many different ways. And it's gonna look really nice, and also it's gonna give a lot of volume. If you like volume in your hair, or one of your clients likes volume in your hair, this is a great haircut to recommend. Remember, the big side of the width of the comb, the white ones are 2 part, and the small ones, they're like 2 cut, because they can help you maintain that tension on your haircut. So if you can try that, it's much easier when you part your hair with the white tooth of the comb. Okay, I am done with my 4 segments. You can see that. You can see them from the top. So now that I'm ready with the segments, I'm ready to start my haircut. So the way we're gonna start, we're gonna go ahead and bring down the front 2 sections. We're gonna bring it completely down. It's because we're gonna have to establish our guide. The way we're gonna do that, we're gonna start with the pie section of the center part, and the way you wanna know the width of your section is you're gonna use the width of your comb. I'm gonna go ahead and do my first pie section. So I already have it here. So now to establish our guide, we're gonna go ahead and measure our length, getting a small section and above the ear. Put this to the side. So I'm gonna measure the side with my comb. It has to measure this small section that we're gonna use from the front hairline. We bring it to a 90-degree, and we're gonna cut it to our guide from the length right here. So now that I have the measurement, I'm gonna go ahead and cut. So this is gonna be my guide. So now I can go ahead and start with my haircut. So we're gonna start by the center part with my first pie section that I just created. So I'm gonna be standing behind my section, and as you can see, my finger angle is gonna be parallel to my section angle. I can see my guide, so now that I can see my guide, I can cut. Just make sure that you don't cut past your second knuckle. So now that I established my guide, I can divide my guide in half. So I can carry part of my guide to my next section. And the one that I already cut, I can pull it to the side and use a clip so I can keep it away from my section that I'm gonna be cutting. So now I'm gonna create another section, stand behind my section, bring it forward, and I can perfectly see my guide. So now that I can see my guide, I can cut. If for any instance you cannot see your guide, maybe you're grabbing so much hair, so you can go ahead and go back, grab less hair, find your guide, and then keep moving forward. Again, I'm gonna divide that in half, pull this to the side, and grab a new section. I'm gonna pivot from my apex, bring it forward. As you can see already, some of my section is dropping, so you let it drop. That means we're not supposed to cut that part because that is your perimeter and you don't want to cut over that. Again, I'm gonna grab some of my guide, pull this to the side. Now when we get to this area of the hairline and close to the ear, be very mindful that you have to grab the section all the way to the hairline, but when you bring it up to your section, to your angle, a lot of hair is gonna be dropping, so you can go ahead and let it drop because once again, that's your perimeter. I'm gonna keep cutting, then I'm gonna go ahead and grab my last section, pull this to the side. And even though when I'm getting ready trying to do my sectioning, I come forward so I can see my sectioning because it has to be clean partings. I always make sure that you do clean partings. And then, but when I'm ready to cut, I come behind my section. This is my guide. And now that we finished the first segment, we can always cross-check for our work. So the way you want to cross-check is doing a horizontal section. And you bring it forward 90 degrees. And if you have anything that you need to correct, you can correct it right there. It's just so we can cross-check. If there's so much that you need to correct, you have to go back and do it again and check and see where you went too much. Check once again. If it was more than that, I will always go back and just go back to my section and check. So I corrected it already. So now we have to be checking that every 3 or 4 sections for balance. So now that we finished section 1, we're gonna continue to the second one. So we're gonna bring it down. And I'm gonna grab another pie section. And I'm gonna bring the previously one that I cut from the first section so that could keep being my guide all through. I'm gonna roll this to the side. And I have my pie section. Again, bring it up and follow my guide. Gonna divide it again. Pull this to the side. We have to work with sectioning. And if you want to use product before you start the haircut, that helps you a lot to control the hair even more. Cut to my guide. Another section. Continue cutting through. I can see my guide. I'm not cutting so much because she had layers before, but I'm still following my guide. To my guide. Okay, we already finished this section. Again, we can cross check for balance. We do horizontal section, bring it forward, and it's straight. So we can continue. Now that we finished with this side, we're gonna continue on the other side. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start in the front and we're gonna come back to the center part so we can find our guide and we can continue all around with the haircut. So I'm gonna come again forward, center part. Grab my guide. I can see my guide right there. Divide it in half. And I'm gonna pull this to the side so it can be out of my way. Now I'm gonna continue with a new section, a new pie section. Bring it forward. Don't forget your finger angle is always parallel to your section angle. You can see my guide. Do not cut past your second knuckle. I'm gonna divide it in half again. Pull this to the side. And again, like I said, if you cannot see your guide, just go back a couple of sections, find it, and move on. Again, I'm behind my section. Bring it up to 90 and cut. Divide it in half. Pull this to the side and grab a new section. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a new section. Careful with the hairline and above the ear, let it drop. I can see my guide and cut. Last section. Guide, ready to cut. Now that we finished this section, we're gonna continue to the last section on the back. We're gonna bring it down. And I'm gonna grab my guide from the front. And I'm gonna start with a new section in the back. Behind my section. Bring it up. You can see my guide and cut. Divide it in half. We're gonna use a clip so we can keep that hair away from the section that we're working on. And we're gonna continue from apex all the way to the bottom of the nape. So we can make sure that we're grabbing all the hair that we need to grab. I'm gonna stand behind my guide, behind my section. Find my guide and cut. that we finish that haircut, let's go ahead and get ready and some information for the pre-dry run wrap. The benefits of the pre-dry: supports the maximum volume and body, ideal for short to medium length hair, removes moisture and speeds up drying time. Sometimes we do not understand why when we go to the salon, the stylist finish the style super quick, right? One of the reasons is because after you pick up your speed and get better on your skills. Also, what it is that if they practice the pre-dry, it's gonna shorten that time so much, because if we do not dry well enough the roots, if we keep that moisture in the roots, it's gonna weigh down the style. It doesn't matter how much time you're gonna spend blow drying and styling the ends, you're still not gonna see that beautiful volume and style that you wanted to see, because the roots is still damp. So it's very important for us to practice the right way of doing a pre-dry before we're gonna style any haircut or any service that you may be working on. Now we're going to continue with product selection. Product selection and proper application is based on the fabric of the hair and the desired end result. We can refer to the styling consultation chart on your skill cards on page 174 and 175. You may be asking yourself why it's so important to choose the right product. Well, one of the reasons is because you're going to be able to protect the hair from other hot tools that we use on a daily basis, from your blow dryer, your curling iron, or your flat iron. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is that it's going to make your job easier, not harder. Because, for example, you're going to be working on a guest that has fine hair and she wants volume. If we use the proper product in the proper quantity, in the proper way, we're going to be able to create that volume that she's looking for, because we tend to give so much shine and moisture to the hair, but if we overdo it on fine hair, we're going to weight it down. So all that time that took us during the pre-dry and the blow dry and styling, it's going to weight it all down. So you want to be very mindful of using the proper products for those reasons. A lot of times also we tend to apply the moisturizing products or serums from the roots to ends. That's one of the products that you want to apply from the ends all the way to the roots, because the hair that is closer to the roots, it already has natural oils. So if you overdo it, it's going to look oily. So usually your ends, the midts and ends, are going to be the parts of the hair that is going to need more moisture. So you may want at the end, your finishing product, if it's going to be some serum, just try to apply it from the ends all the way to the roots. Or you may want to apply it also on the ones that comes in a spray bottle, so it could be very light on fine hair. So now that we learn a little bit more about choosing the product for our style, let's go ahead and get ready to start the pre-dry. Hello everyone, ready to continue with the pre-dry for the round layer haircut. Okay, before we start with the pre-dry, we're gonna apply our muscle product. In this case, we're using Extra Body Sculpting Foam. I already applied it on my mannequin, so I'm ready to start sectioning. And for that, I need to decide my styling part. In this case, I'm gonna be doing the middle part. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my middle part all the way to the bottom part of the occipital. And then from the bottom part of the occipital, I'm gonna go ahead and do my section all the way to the front hairline above the ear. Because we're gonna be starting our pre-dry on the nape area. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. From the lower part of the occipital all the way to the front hairline. Now, if for any instance your guest or your mannequin has a fringe by the bridge of the nose, then we're gonna create another section on the front. We will create another section here on the front, and then we will start on the nape, continue on the fringe, and then on the sides. In this case, mine does not have a fringe, so we're gonna go ahead and start on the nape area. So I'm gonna be using the styling brush, the 407. So you can use any of the 400 series for your pre-dry, depending on the formation and texture of the hair. So the way we're gonna be pre-drying, we're gonna go ahead and work as a team with the brush and the blow dryer. They're gonna have to go at the same rhythm, kind of like when you're dancing. When you're dancing, you always have a leader, you have a follower. In this case, my brush is my leader and my blow dry is my follower. So we're gonna go ahead and start on the nape area. I'm gonna explain how the section is gonna be and the technique, and then I'll go ahead and do it. We're gonna be doing diagonal back sections, and we're gonna go ahead and push the hair away from us 3 times, and on the third one you go all the way to the ends. The main technique here is to focus on the roots. Diagonal back, and then my brush, I'm gonna start with the inside of my brush, secure that hair, rotate, and do 1, 2, and 3. Always the airflow following my brush. On the third stroke, we go all the way to the end so we can detangle and brush that hair. Again, diagonal back section. After I have my diagonal back, I can start 1, 2, and 3, all the way to the opposite side. Now we're gonna start on the non-dominant side, and I'm gonna be doing again diagonal back sections, but now I'm gonna push the hair towards me. 1, 2, and 3. Still my blow dryer is following my brush. Diagonal back section, 1, 2, and 3, and continue to my dominant side. 1, 2, and 3, diagonal back, 1, 2, and 3. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna start again on my dominant side. Finish with the nape area, we're gonna continue with the rest of the section. So we're gonna bring these 2 sections down and brush it all down, because now we're gonna start on the front hairline. Again, we always start in our dominant side. So we're gonna start on the front hairline, and I'm gonna be doing 2 sections on the top of the crown area. So it's gonna be horizontal sectioning, and we're gonna be brushing away from us, and we're gonna start from the front hairline, and we're gonna finish by the crown. Now that we finish on the crown, we're gonna continue with the next section. The third section, we're gonna be doing diagonal forward sections, and we're gonna go ahead and be brushing, kind of like in a rotating motion, but we're gonna keep going upwards. And we're gonna go all around until we finish by the top part of the occipital. Now that we finish that section, we're gonna continue with the last one on top of the ear. On this one, we're gonna be doing diagonal back, and we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be pushing the hair like a 45 towards the hairline, and we're gonna go all around and finish by the lower part of the occipital. Now that we finish on this side, we're gonna go ahead and start on our non-dominant side. Go back to my middle part. And again, we're gonna start on the front hairline. But now in this case, again, we're gonna do horizontal section, and we're gonna be pushing to the opposite side. So I'm gonna get my horizontal section, and we're gonna start from the front hairline all the way to the higher part of the crown. Finish these two sections on the top. Now the third one, again, we're gonna be doing diagonal forward, and we're gonna still pushing, rotate and pushing up to the opposite side. Now for the last section, again, of this one that we just finished, we start from the front hairline all the way to the higher part of the occipital. Now this last one, again, we're gonna be doing diagonal back, and we're gonna be pushing forward towards to the hairline, and we're gonna finish on the lower part of the occipital. with a pre-dry and my ends still damp. That's the way we're supposed to have it damp. That's the end result, because we only need the roots to be dry. And you can already see how she's getting some volume, only because we already concentrated on the roots. So this is how we do the pre-dry for the round layer haircut. So let's go ahead and start working on it. See you soon. Bye. Hello everyone, now we're going to continue with the round brush finishing, and before we start I'm going to talk to you a little bit about round brushing. To begin with, we're going to go ahead and work with the medium-sized round brush, because her length is almost like mid-back if she was a client. But depending on the length, that's the size of the brush that we're going to be using. We have, like I said, medium brush like the one I'm going to use today. We have a small brush, and we have the big brush. And now that I already choose my proper tool, also I can tell to you about the round finishing is that it's very suitable for, especially for the round layer haircuts, and a lot of people like it nowadays because it gives you a lot of volume. So people that really likes volume is gonna more than likely, ask for the round brush finishing blow dry. So in this case also, we're gonna always wanna start on the face frame first, so the guests can see the results and how they're gonna be looking on that style. I don't know if you experience sometimes when you're at the salon that usually some stylists start on the back, and the client is kind of like trying to look to the back and see how it's looking, and they move a lot because they feel a little bit nervous how it's going to be looking. But if you take the face frame section and you blow dry first, they're able to see the results, especially if it's a color service, and they're going to be more calm about it, and they're not going to move as much. So we're going to start with the face frame first, but also we're going to go ahead and work with sectioning. And before we start with the sectioning, we're going to start with our base product. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Extra Body Sculpting Foam. So that's going to be my base product. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the product from the ends, work it all the way to the roots, making sure that everything is very well saturated. And to double check on that, I'm gonna go ahead and comb it out. Now I'm ready to start with my sectioning. So the sectioning is gonna be 5 sections, and it's gonna start from the front hairline all the way to the apex, and then from the apex it's gonna continue to my sewing process. So this is gonna be my first section. And I'm going to continue the other side. Again, from apex to my sewing process. And then on the back, we're going to start on the apex to one side of the head, making like 3 pie sections on the back. And we're gonna go ahead and secure those sections with a hair clip like this. And my last section. With the sectioning, so this is the way the sectioning is gonna look. 3 pie sections on the back, and then apex to my sewing process. So now we have our 5 sections. start with the face framing first, so our guests can see that style. Especially if the guest has a face frame on their haircut, this is the way we want to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on my dominant side, and I'm gonna take 2 sections. One, I'm gonna put it to the side, and I'm gonna start on the bottom, so I can start face framing this style. Then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to create those round brush style with no volume, medium volume, or high volume. As you can see, I'm placing my brush under and I'm rotating little by little, getting that tension that we need to smooth it out. And then on the ends, I'm gonna rotate it a little bit more, but also always making sure that the airflow is following your brush. Remember when we talk about dancing, how when you're dancing, you have a leader and a follower. So your brush is gonna be the leader and your airflow is gonna follow. I'm using a diagonal back section, so my brush is in a diagonal back position. On the other side. Doing the same technique. Now our face frame, it's done. So let's go ahead and start giving her some volume. And we're gonna start in our dominant side. And we're gonna start from above the ear, working our way all the way to the top of the head. So now the diameter or the size of our section has to be the diameter of the brush. So that's how we're gonna know how big our sections can be. And I'm gonna show you right now first, how will you blow dry when you don't want any volume? So we're gonna be doing that at a 0 degree, meaning we're gonna rotate that brush all the way towards the floor. So you can see, has no volume. It's going 0 degree all the way down. So through the whole style, we're gonna work the bottom part with a 0 degree, then middle part 45, and then on the top a 90 degree, so we can create that full volume. Now I'm gonna create my other section, medium volume, and for that I'm gonna take it to, in this case, 45 degrees, meaning towards us. So right now, when I did my first section, I was pulling the hair down towards to the floor. And this section, I'm gonna be pulling towards me, straight out. So now you can see this little bump right here, that's giving you a little bit of volume. So now I'm gonna create the max volume, working my brush all the way down on base. I'm gonna roll that brush up, I'm gonna brush it up, I'm gonna roll it and position it on base so we can create that max volume. If you're working with a guest, we're gonna have to lower the chair. Now we can see how much volume we created on the top. So now it looks more uniform from a big volume on top, medium, and no volume at the bottom. So after we finish this first section, we're gonna keep moving clockwise. So now I'm gonna move to my second section, and we're gonna work in the same way. My first section is going to be all the way to the bottom, pointing to the bottom, to the floors, so we can avoid creating any volume. And then on the middle, we're going to create half of the volume, and on the top, the max volume. And the reason we're able to create that again is because if you roll that brush off base, you don't create that volume. In the middle, we're going to position that run brush half off. That's why we're able to create that half volume. But on the top, we're positioning the run brush on base, and that's why we're able to create max volume. So I'm gonna continue with my section 2. Up. Now my second one is gonna be half off base. top one, again, is gonna be on base. That volume right there that we just created. Now we're gonna move to section 3. And keep working the same way. Again, my first section is gonna be on the nape. My section 2 is towards by the occipital, and my last section close to the lower nape. To the lower crown. Section now. We're gonna work on section number 4. Again, we're gonna keep working in the same manner. Make sure that we can work with very clean sections. If for any reason you guys want to create a style where you want volume all over, all around, you can do that as well. You will be doing all your sections again, depending on the diameter of your brush, and you're going to be positioning your brush on base all through. Now again, this is going to be half off, so I'm going to be brushing towards me. Okay, we're going to continue in the middle section. of our third section on the center back. And we're gonna continue by the occipital area, and we're gonna be doing half off so we can create a little bit of volume. Continue to our fourth section. I hope you guys are having fun and are excited about the results. I am very excited about the results and having a lot of fun doing this. This is one of my favorite blow dried styles. Again, remember the bottom part is off base, no volume. Middle part is half off, so we can have medium volume, and the top part of the head is going to be high volume, so it's going to be all the way to 180 degree up. Continue with the last section on your non-dominant side. Okay, we're gonna start of the ear, working all the way to the top of the head. are done with the blow dry run brush, so we can create that volume on our guest. Now, another technique that I want to show you is whenever your guest wants a run brush because she wants that volume, but also maybe she wants her curls end and give it a little bit more style. So to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to create that style. So I'm gonna start on my dominant side, and above the ear, I'm gonna grab a section so you can see that style. And the way I'm gonna be creating those curls on the end, I'm gonna grab my brush. I'm gonna grab a smaller brush, and I'm gonna go the opposite side. We started blow drying with the run brush under the section. This time it's gonna be on top of the section, and we're gonna give it like a half turn so we can lock that brush and that hair, and then the airflow is gonna go downwards so we can smooth out that section. Gonna keep rolling that brush at the ends. Then I'm gonna go ahead and roll up, and I'm gonna go ahead to go in a vertical angle. My airflow is gonna go with her cuticle, and I'm gonna keep rolling that brush in a vertical angle. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that section around my hand like this, and we're gonna go around. So let's go ahead and do it. And we can create that curl in the end. See, you can go ahead and see this ends being curled just by run brushing. Okay, let me go ahead and do this side and then the other side so my client can go home happy with those ends being curled. Next section. And we're gonna continue the same technique. Side, you see this curl that we just created. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other side. We're gonna go ahead and continue in our non-dominant side. Again, I'm not gonna be doing I'm not gonna place in my brush under the section. It's gonna be on top, and then do like a half turn so I can lock that hair. The last one. Done styling the front, curling those ends. So now she can go home with a more style, curling those ends. You can see. And we did all this just with a round brush. We didn't need a curling iron or anything like that, or a flat iron. We can get very creative just with a round brush. Okay, well guys, I hope you guys enjoy this demo for the round brush and curling the ends. I hope you had fun and learned, some techniques and tips. So I hope, see you guys soon.